Okay, so I am here with Maxine Gunderman. She is the Senior Manager of National and Strategic Accounts for Seabourn. Sorry, that's a mouthful. So welcome and thank you for your time. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Helen. Great to be here.
And for those who don't know, Maxine just got back from a fabulous trip to Antarctica, and I was creeping your social media and watching your videos and looking at your pictures, and I was absolutely in awe. And it just looked like an incredible experience. Antarctica is on my list, on my very short list, and so let's start with Antarctica. Was it as absolutely breathtaking, incredible as the videos made it look?
It's more so, Helen. I have to preface to say, well, I've been in the travel industry for many years, 15 years, and I gotta honestly say, Antarctica was never on my radar. So, Antarctica is not just a destination for those who even know about it. This is one of those, imagine you throw a dart at a dartboard and you just say, okay, it's something where you can have no idea what it is and just dive right in. And I don't think any picture or any video can ever capture what this place is. It's exceptional. It takes your breath away and it's beautiful. And so the first thing you know about Antarctica, being in the southern hemisphere, it's it's summertime when the trips go, right?
Yeah.
So you can go to Antarctica from November until end of February. And so if you think about it, you're getting the longest daytime sunlight hours because you're so extreme to the pole.
Yeah.
And I was late season. So summer has already kind of passed. And we were getting this beautiful golden hour at 9 p.m., rainbows. I mean, it's it's like a paradise that no one really knows exists.
And it's so
Or
untouched I mean, the cruises go all over the world, but I mean, you're not going to find McDonald's there. You're not going to find it's truly that untouched paradise that I think everyone looks for.
well, and to that point, it's the wildlife that has no fear for humans. There's really not a lot of predators down there. So you can walk right up to a penguin and they'll stare back at you. Even the birds that do fly, they don't move. There's really, it's a completely different mindset for you to observe and be a part of this ecosystem. And so the nature of exploring Antarctica with Seabourn, because not all are equal. There's an opportunity for you to cruise, do a little sail by Antarctica and just look at it,
Mhm.
which is spectacular scenic cruising. But we actually land and we go explore. You can hike and wet landing, walking up a beach and kayaking. We even have submarines on board. So when you're going around in the kayaks or in the Zodiac and the penguins are swimming with you and the sea lions and the seals are coming up and they're like, well, what are you? Are you an orca? Are you a penguin? Like what are you?
Are
So
you my
it
friend or not?
right. And I've had, we actually had a leopard seal. Now, if you are familiar with Antarctica and the leopard seals, they are the main predator for penguins. And we had a leopard seal swim right up to our Zodiac for like 15 minutes. It was just us and her. And she got so curious that she started nibbling the Zodiac because they really test with their mouths. And so I have it on video, just came up and was like, huh, what is this?
That's incredible. And yet it's interesting when I talk with my clients about Antarctica. On the one hand, I think people are awestruck and they kind of go, "Oh yeah, I would love that." But it feels intimidating, I think, to a lot of people. And that's something that um And I know I asked you for your zodiac videos, and I posted that because as I was watching, and I haven't done Antarctica yet, so I'm learning as much as everyone is. But as I was watching the care, you had at least two or three people holding you as you were stepping into the zodiac, and watching you just sort of swivel over on land and get into the zodiac. And I looked and I thought, you know what? This is a whole lot safer than I think people think. People think Zodiac and it's going to be wild and crazy and they're going to fall out, or they're not physically able to do it. And I don't know. I when I watched these videos, I thought this is nowhere near as intimidating as I think the general, traveler believes that Antarctica is.
It's a very popular question. Who can go to Antarctica? What's the age demographics or mobility levels? And that's what Seabourn does so effortlessly, is make it accessible, because we have the comforts on board this gorgeous luxury ship. So, whether it's spa or dining or entertainment, it's there. And then you're checking off the seventh continent or going somewhere that no one else has gone. So on my voyage last week, we actually had ages 6 to 86 on board.
That's
And
incredible.
all of them participated in all of the activities. So speaking about the zodiacs, right, that's the inflatable motorboat that takes you from ship to shore, because remember, there is no pier, there's no cruise terminal, you are in it. And so they're really durable, really, rough and tough and sturdy and stable. It's a real flat bottom, so you can walk around very easily. And so that's the only thing you need to be able to do is take a minor step into the zodiac. And then, so it really does give them the confidence that we won't go somewhere if it's too wavy or if it's too windy or the
Right.
conditions aren't. So it's not like you got to time it and jump in at any given moment. So these are the things that you actually don't have to concern yourself with, and you just leave all of the planning to the expert team that we have on board.
Yeah, and put yourself in their hands because safety is always,
Paramount.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
always number one, right? Um, when you So we also see a lot of videos on social media about how horrible going across the Drake is. And, I've seen videos where people are sliding across yeah. And it's hard to know what's staged to start with.
Mm.
So having been there in real life, what was your Drake experience? Because I think that's another thing that people find so intimidating is there's these crazy videos online, which may not be real. And people go, oh, well, I wouldn't want to do that.
Right. So the Drake Passage is an infamous body of water where, our well, it's really the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans meet. And then, of course, heading into the Southern Ocean. Now, it can be the most volatile body of water in the world. But here's the thing. Number one, again, we only travel in the summertime.
Yeah.
So it's not this treacherous winter. You can be outside on deck. Maybe there's a breeze, you have your layers on, but it's sunny, and it's a completely different experience altogether. But the most important thing that Seabourn does, we have the technology for the planning to look at the swells, to look at the wind, to look at the wave height, and time our passage, because there will always be storms everywhere, but we can choose which route we take. And
Yeah.
so, what was really interesting is on the very first day of the voyage, we get into the Discovery Center Theater for our first briefing, introductions to the team, and they do like a time lapse, and you're looking at weather, the weather channel. Well, I think it's windy.com or something, and it can map out the time and the flows of currents and winds. and they actually played the time lapse, and we had the most perfect crossing you could imagine. In fact, the whole theater starts applauding the planning team
Yeah.
that we actually had
Yeah.
a very, very smooth crossing. You could see a storm coming in after us, but we have the timing for that itinerary to be able to wait if there's a storm or go, ahead. And
Wow.
because these ships are brand new, they're built sturdy, they're built fast, so we can actually have a better draft in the water to have that sturdy, stable sailing with our stabilizers and all the technology that the ship was built with. So that does play a factor. You could sail, two different vessels on the same day. You want to have that high tech, stable, brand new hardware to get you across.
And the Seabourn ships are purpose built for expedition. And I think on top of the technology, I think that really counts. And there are some companies that are cruising in those waters, and those are not purpose built for that kind of environment. And I think that, like you said, it's got to make a huge difference just in the
Yeah,
overall experience.
exactly.
One of the things that I think also, and I've had a couple of really funny conversations about expedition and whether it's Antarctica or there's, Galapagos, there's expedition, in multiple places around the world. Um, and people just assuming well, it's going to be, is that like bunk beds? Is that, sleeping bags? People just assuming that, and I joke about it's not roughing it. Um, and maybe you can talk a little bit about Seabourn and Seabourn's approach to expedition because I think it how in their mind it immediately popped in that it's roughing it and yeah the Seabourn experience is anything it couldn't be further from the truth.
It's so true. So if you want to define expedition, the real function of expedition is that immersion, right? There's so many different ways to travel, or you're sightseeing or, historical tours. So expedition is about accessing the inaccessible and exploring, by land and sea. So the preconceived notion of expedition is more of that scientific side, right? When the scientists are down in Antarctica, they're not doing it like Seabourn is. And so we have that perfect balance. The onboard experience, it's tastefully done because you don't want the decor to feel out of place. You want comfort and you want, 5-star, but you don't need crystal chandeliers inside when you're in Antarctica outside. So when you see these ships, the fireplaces and the fuzzy pillows and, floor to ceiling windows and the appointment of the suite. So, in fact, the ship is 100% veranda suites. So, every single person has their own private balcony. And that is huge because you want to feel connected to the destination at every turn. And so the suites start at 350 square feet. So you just have this really great usable space, walk in closet, double sink vanity, because you go, right? You're out in the morning, you come back for lunch, you're out again in the afternoon in different locations. We were in Antarctica for 6 days, and I did about 13 things in those 6 days
Wow.
ashore. So, you want to have this functional space that works. Now, get this, Helen. The best kept secret and the most beautiful idea Seabourn has done on these expedition ships, there's heated closets in your room.
What?
Yes.
What?
Oh, my snow pants were toasty warm and dry, and my
I would never
gloves.
think about that, but it makes
So
perfect sense.
we used it, and my best friend, she says, if I ever move, I'm installing a heated closet in my home. So it's that heated towel rack you might see in
Yeah.
a luxury bathroom. Well,
Yeah.
that heater is in this little cubby that is a perfect height to hang up your parka. You can put your mitts in there. There's even a drip tray. In fact, I was putting my bathing suit in there after I was in the hot tub or the sauna. And then it's just toasty warm. It's just the perfect example of the comfort level on Seabourn.
That's fabulous. And yes, what a great idea. And just to be able to put something on that's warm before you go
Mm-hmm.
inside. Well, what to me, that's a luxury. And it's yeah.
100%. You can put your robe in there, your towels in there.
I think I would have it overflowing within days of all the different things I would put in there. So I just went on a river cruise and we were just in Egypt and I had what I'm going to call a magical moment where we did a hot air balloon ride as the sun was coming up in the morning over the Valley of the Kings, just stunningly beautiful and just one of those pinch me moments where you kind of think, I can't believe I'm actually here. You've got to have had a magical moment. In fact, I'm guessing you might have had magical moments every day, but was there one thing where you just really had to take a step back almost and where you thought, I can't even believe I'm here. This is absolutely mind blowing. Was there, or just the
I've
whole thing?
already run through four in my mind as you ask the question because every day the itinerary is so fluid, right? They actually don't know where specifically, which bay, which island, which end of the peninsula they're going to go to until maybe the day before because they'll look for best weather. So every day on every single itinerary is going to be completely different than the last. But I personally think that I truly loved kayaking the most because
Okay.
you're at the water level. It's silent, you're just there's no boundaries or barriers, and we were just exploring. So just as I said, we're planning our itinerary. The kayak leader, he was like, okay, we're just going to go down this way. We're going to, and then we changed course because there was a lot of ice moving in, in a certain current, and we found a sleeping whale. And so there was this humpback whale, and you could hear him before you saw him because it's just majestic, like just the slow, heavy breath every 90 seconds. And so they sleep on the surface. So just the top of his hump was above the water, and we kayaked towards him. I think we were maybe 14 of us in double kayaks, so 7 kayaks. And we just came up to this sleeping whale, and you'd see him kind of rise to take a breath and then go back down. And there's nothing like that.
I was just gonna say, I can't even imagine. I can't even
uh,
imagine. Now, did you have to have a certain level of expertise to be in the kayak or
I was very impressed. Kayaking is one of the easiest things, right? But you don't need to balance. You don't really need to work very hard, and there's two of you in it, and they're very stable. So the risk or concern of tipping over is really non-existent either. So
yeah.
it's it's a very very easygoing activity that you don't need. We did have some who have never kayaked before, and there was no struggles. It's very easy to steer and very, you know, common sense of which way to go. So, and
Yeah.
then you have two guides with you, one at the front, one at the back. And it wasn't that we were in a straight line. It was easy. It was just so casual and unstructured that just led to, amazing discoveries.
I can't even imagine. I can't. Yeah, that's definitely okay. You definitely have me on the magical moment because I just yeah, I mean people go to Alaska to see whales, in different places, but just to get that close and in just such a peaceful, quiet moment.
Mm. Well, to that point, you can go to Alaska and never see a whale, or you could go on
Yeah.
a whale watching adventure and never see a whale. As much as we couldn't guarantee it, we can guarantee you are absolutely on in Antarctica. There were whales everywhere. There are penguins everywhere. There's seals, and you really, it's not kind of you're not going to have that letdown of whether you're going to see it or not. Now every trip is different. Right, we have two ships in Antarctica, so as I was on one, there was another voyage that was 2 days behind. The itineraries are staggered by 2 days, and they had dolphins, and then the voyage before that they had orcas. So there's so much in all of the areas.
And I think that's one of the that's almost one of the benefits, right? Is some people when they cruise, they like to have a very structured, they know what port they're going in. And yet when you're doing expedition cruising, I've heard some companies, the first thing they do in the welcome briefing is say, take that itinerary, throw it away. Because we don't know where we're going to go. It depends on ice, it depends on weather, it depends on all of these things. And so right from the moment, it's this kind of magical adventure where you don't have any expectations. You're just going to go and spend some time there and see what happens. And I think that alone, that's amazing. You know,
Mm-hmm. If you are a master planner, it actually feels really good to not have to think about what you're doing the next day. You just, you get to just relax and go with that flow. I mean, it's Antarctica, right? If they gave you choices, you wouldn't know by the names. So leave it to the experts, and they're very smart. It got better and better and better every
okay.
day. So
Okay.
there
Yeah.
must be an order, because I was like, you can't get better. And then the next day, it was just like, oh my gosh, we went on a hike, and it was kind of a bit of an incline, and there's different options. So they'll always brief you the night before. Here's where we're going to go. Here's what time we'll be there. And then everyone's in very small groups. They're color coded so that, you hear the announcement and you know exactly when to go. There's never lineups. It's never, you know, everybody fighting to get off or anything.
Yeah.
And so they'll have an aerial view, kind of like a satellite, of here's where we're landing, here's how many steps it might be, so that anybody from different mobility or comfort levels, they would know, okay, if you want to do this, you just go along the beach, there's a colony of penguins over here. If you're looking for something more adventurous, there's a longer walk around to a lookout point. So you have these options. And so we did this hike, and as you're going up, you look back and you just see glaciers and the bay and the ship, and you take a picture, you take 10 more steps, and you're like, wow, it's even better. You couldn't take enough photos because it just kept changing, and it's beautiful.
That's incredible. Now let's switch gears a little bit. I mean, yes, Antarctica is stunning and beautiful. What about life on board? Let's talk about
Mm-hmm.
the actual ships because there's a lot of companies that go to Antarctica. What makes Seabourn different? What is it like? What can you do on board?
Yes, great question. And I mean, you can see the ship behind you. It's a beautiful photo there. We build our ships larger than the capacity. So I'm curious if you wanted to hazard a guess of how many guests would be on this ship. Well, it's 264. So it's small, but the ship, in tonnage is much larger. So number one, you get that stability and the sturdiness. You can see there's an infinity pool at the back there. There's in fact 4 hot tubs, 2 down by the pool and 2 on the very top deck. You have lounges end to end. The bow lounge, you have full access of the bow. You have the Constellation Lounge at the forward at the top with panoramic views. Live music. There's actually live music in 2 different venues. You have your piano bar, and then you have your acoustic guitarist and singing duo, and then you have incredible dining. There's multiple options. It's all casual, so it's certainly not a formal night or formal dress code. It's very casual in that way, but not the service. The service is 5 star. It's your linens and your sparkling waters and your premium wines and spirits, and everything's included. So you're not paying for extra restaurants. So it's this incredible balance. And then you have the spa, and a full fitness center. And what I really love about this ship is that every single venue has windows to the outside. So,
Mm.
you don't have to say, well, I would really like to get some movement in, but I don't want to miss anything. Well, let me promise you, from the motion studio where I was doing yoga and stretching, floor to ceiling windows, panoramic views, the rowing machine, the treadmill. So in fact, in the middle of my workout, we arrived in Antarctica after a day of crossing the Drake, and you started seeing icebergs everywhere. And I just walked out from the gym, took these beautiful photos, and didn't miss a moment.
Yeah, that's well, and I think that's the beautiful thing about being, you really are immersive. Even when you're on the ship, you're in it, right? You're not
You're
just
in
in a, in a gym or, somewhere. You're actually, the windows, I think, bring the
it.
outside in.
Exactly. You're never confined, and there's just such a social atmosphere on Seabourn as well, which I think is very, very special. So you can see at the back of the ship, every single one of those decks has outdoor seating, built-in heaters, outdoor bars, and we have our heartbeat is called Seabourn Square. Seabourn Square is your coffee shop. It has, light bites during the afternoon. It's our gelato, which is all made fresh on board. We have our games, puzzles, library, beautiful seats that are facing outward, and then our guest services team. So you don't have a guest relations counter with a lineup. It's like couches and it's a living room. And it is incredibly social. All of the expedition guides, they're there. They could be doing, a photo tutorial. They could be tying knots or just having conversations and sharing photos, sharing stories. It's such an incredible experience to be around, like-minded travelers from around the world that, is attracted to Seabourn.
And that to me, I think is such a real difference. You have the upscale, um, the upscale ship and the upscale surroundings, the suites, the dining and everything. And yet it's very kind of laid back. It's I
Mm,
think the balance of that, and I talked about, I made a video yesterday and I talked about it. It's where the fun and adventure, but also upscale luxury. It collides with Seabourn in the best way. And I think
exactly.
that I know for myself when I travel, I want to have that, I want to have a nice, comfortable bed. I want to have good service and I want to feel special and I want great food. And I did see you posted a few pictures of the food. So let's chat a minute about the food on Seabourn because I think to me personally, food can make or break your experience on board when you're cruising. And I think some brands do a great job. I think some brands, they prefer to focus they put their focus in other areas. So talk to
Sure,
me
it's not
a little
their
bit about,
specialty.
because I
Yeah.
saw what it looked like, but you actually got to eat it.
Well, what's really important to me is variety. We were on board the ship for 10 days. My cruise was 10 days. You can also do a 12-day Antarctica. In fact, we have a 20-day cruise that includes the Falkland Islands and South Georgia, for the ultimate experience. So if this is your home, you're going to want variety. You're certainly going to want an exciting menu and surprises every day. And so, from the casual nature of what we call the colonnade is outdoor dining, indoor dining, a market style and they would do themes every day. So one day it could be Mexican themed, it could be England themed, it could be Italian, it could be Greek, Mediterranean, and they will go, authentic, the dishes, the flavors, fresh seafood. I had mussels every day. We actually have caviar on demand 24 hours a day. You can have it delivered anytime, anywhere. It's kind of a signature identity for Seabourn. Vegetarian, gluten-free, any kind of dietary restrictions or requirements are something that we are very well equipped to manage. In fact, I was able to do a tour of our galley and
Mm.
talk with our executive chef and learn about the provisions and the planning. They actually plan up to 90 days in advance, and they actually have the kinds of provisions that they could on board for 90 days, in fact. But really it comes down to the chefs of so many different nations and backgrounds to be able to deliver. I happened to be on board for Valentine's Day, and in the main dining room, it was an 8-course Valentine's Day special menu. And luckily, because as much as I love variety, it's hard for me to choose. So they
Yeah.
said, you don't have to make any choices. You're going to get everything. Just tell me what you would like for your main. Would you like a beef tenderloin or beautiful fresh sea bass? So there is really something for everyone's, culinary tastes.
So what was your favorite dish? What if someone is going, if someone's sailing Seabourn, whether that's Antarctica or just one of the regular ocean cruises, what's your favorite dish that you recommend?
Oh gosh. Well, it would be impossible for me to remember them all, because we also have a very special restaurant called Earth and Ocean that does really inventive dishes, and really, really exciting. But truly, what Seabourn is very well known for is our sushi. We have a sushi bar on all of our ships, and it's got to be from just the sashimi to the nigiri rolls, and there's just so much choice. If you just wanted something light, something quick, something casual, love the sushi. But other than the sushi, it might have been the lamb chop. We had incredible steaks, incredible lamb, incredible fish. Don't make me choose, Helen. I can't do it.
You're like me, just yes, all of
Just
it,
yes.
all of
And
it.
that's the beauty, is it really can open, your horizons, to be able to try something that there's not a cover charge. You don't have to feel like you're getting your money's worth, or concerned for not enjoying your dish. There's just so much choice out there to try something new.
That's amazing. And you mentioned, to last question here, don't want to take up too much of your time. You mentioned that on this voyage, 8 to 84, 85.
6 to
Sorry,
86.
16. So, and that surprised me. And I think it would surprise a lot of people because in that premium cruising category, I think people assume old passengers, stuffiness. I think we've already dispelled the whole stuffiness. It sounds like it's anything but. Um, but it's interesting to me. And when I think about my grandson who's 6, I couldn't
Mm.
imagine him, getting to experience Antarctica.
Hmm.
I mean, what an incredible opportunity for, a younger child, to be able to actually go and see it for themselves. So it surprised me, but I guess it shouldn't.
The learning opportunity of travel in general, so, and I just had this conversation yesterday of someone who wants to bring their 6-year-old, and other people said you should wait until they're older, etc. But the eagerness of their learning,
Yeah.
they can absorb so much more than even we can, and they want to learn. So he was fantastic. He was kind of, everyone's 6-year-old on board the ship. Everyone knew him by name. He was social. He was able. We're not going to have babysitting or kids club. He's part of the experience. We did puzzles together in the Seabourn Square, and I saw him out on the hikes and, you know, out and about. So he was modeling a penguin one day. It's adorable. So Seabourn, truly, we do attract all ages. Our average age is about mid 40s to late 60s, and that's what I saw on our cruise was the biggest demographic on board.
Yeah.
But there were plenty in their 70s and 80s. And so just on that other side of the spectrum, they felt comfortable after the briefings. They would just one-on-one chat with the expedition leaders and say, okay, knowing where we're going tomorrow, do you think that we could handle that hike? And they would be able to assess and adjust. And we have walking sticks, kind of hiking poles to go explore, and they'll tell you what kind of terrain. But everyone, it's a lifestyle. It's an active lifestyle that is not bound by age, that you really can do Antarctica and check off this bucket list in the seventh continent at any age.
I think it's a mindset. I actually think it's a mindset. I think if you um for 90-95% of people, if you've got it in your head, I think I mean, and I watched the people stepping into the Zodiacs. I think there's
Mm-hmm.
a ton of help to do that sort of thing. I think there's a way to do it. It's
And
just you literally have to get your mind set on the fact that I want to do this and I'm gonna do it in a way that's safe. Um,
yes,
yeah,
do it with Seaboard. Well, talking about, mindset, a lot of people think, ooh, Antarctica, cold. I don't want a cold
mm,
vacation,
yeah,
cold trip. And I'm very much one of those people. I love being warm. But, well, truthfully, me being in Toronto, Antarctica was warmer than Toronto. Right? Because it's
really, that surprises me.
absolutely the temperatures, because again, it's summertime down there. So especially if you have direct sunlight, you
Yeah,
were warm. There were people who were sunburnt. In fact, you definitely want to bring sunscreen, especially just the reflection off the ice or snow.
yeah,
On a sunny day, you're very close to the sun, and you can get sunburned. But it would rain. It would be a very neutral, especially the winds can change at any time. But for the most part, in Celsius, it was 0 to 5. In Fahrenheit, it was, 35 to 40. It was very, very mild.
so you're not doing 5 or 10 layers because it's -50 and
That's what people picture, right?
yeah,
It's like 40
it
degree
is what people
blizzard.
picture.
And that's
Yeah,
what you picture. And so, really remembering it's summertime. I absolutely had too many layers on the first landing. First landing was Deception Island, and I had to take everything off at the top of this volcano crater to take off a layer and then put my parka back on. And because you're moving, right? You're walking, you're
yeah.
hiking. So, even just my fingertips, I could have my gloves off to take a photo and put the gloves back on. That was one of the most things I was curious or concerned about. But
Yeah.
I ski, I snowboard. So if you've done any kind of winter sport, the
Yeah, it's
layers
very,
trick.
very similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that you think that somebody who has not sailed with Seabourn yet or not done expedition with Seabourn, either or, um, anything that you would say, hey, you need to know this.
Hmm. Well, you need to know that the value is baked in for the fact that everything's included on board.
Mm.
So the
Yeah.
fact that it's truly open bar, right? Just
Yep.
even for
Yep.
your water, your sparkling water, your coffees, your espressos, everything, your fine wines, your premium spirits is all included.
Yep.
And your Wi-Fi is high speed. In fact, we are linked to Starlink, right? So,
Perfect. Yeah.
like FaceTime fast on board, even in Antarctica. The gratuities, you don't have to pay for any of the tips. Now, all of that is taken care of. You don't find the cash tips. You find this genuine care that it's not about, fishing for tips, and all the dining. So, a lot of times people might think that a trip of this magnitude would be outside of their reach, but when you really look at it and talk with yourself as the valued travel partner, you
Yeah.
can make that dream a reality. And it really is, shockingly a great price to take that trip.
And you don't have that. I've done other cruises where you get that piece of paper the night before and you kind of go, oh wow, I forgot what I did. I forgot, whether it's a
All the
bottle
extra
of
charges.
champagne or whatever, and yeah, so it's a shock free. You don't have that horrible piece of paper. And I found that um when you add that up, what I call the post cruise price on some lines versus the upfront price, they really do stack up. And yet you're right, the value and what you're getting for that is a very, very different thing. And
Hmm.
yeah, that's a really good thing to point out. And yeah, I've experienced both sides of that, and I prefer to not have that shocking piece of paper the night before.
Exactly. It's better for budgeting, and it just, for peace of mind that you don't feel like you've missed out on something. You shouldn't have to think about all the decisions you're making on board. It's just, yes, I will have that caviar and I will try that new cocktail.
Yeah. While you're being mesmerized by the beautiful scenery around.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. I definitely think that or I know that you have more than convinced me to take a look at Seabourn for Antarctica. Just your social media posts alone. Thank you for doing that because they blew my mind. And I think that Antarctica is one of those truly special places that people should really move up on their bucket list. Because while you potentially could do it in your 80s, don't take the chance where you don't have the mobility. Do it when you're younger and prioritize that.
Well, do it now is really, it's not about age. It's just about enjoying while you can. And
Yeah.
so it's one of those places where, I went from not thinking about it to thinking, okay, this is a once in a lifetime. Well, now I'm ready to go back. This is absolutely something that they say you go for the penguins and you come back for the ice. You just, there's so much to take in. You can do it
Yeah.
over and over.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you for taking the time to chat today and to share your experience. I think it's really helpful um, for people to be able to understand Antarctica and Seabourn beyond the beautiful pictures, the beautiful videos. There's no denying those, but to actually hear about the experience and to understand what that's like for real and not those crazy social media things that are out there.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Helen. Your expertise is what's going to get everyone to fulfill their dreams.
Yeah, and I might be signing myself up sooner than later. So yeah, absolutely. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.